what's poppin', guys? So today I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different. I'm gonna rank every single tower and hero in Bloons TD Battles 2. So I'm gonna be ranking them based on versatility, so how often I see them in Hall of Masters, and just overall how good I think they are. So S tier is the best, A tier is above average, B and C are average, D tier is below average, F tier just sucks. Alright, so let's get started. Oh yeah, so if you guys want to yell at me and disagree, just gonna say that ahead of time. Just go down in the comment section and yell at me however you want. Alright, anyway, Dart Monkey is D tier. You never really see it all that often. I don't think it's that good of a tier. Or not, what am I talking about? It's not that good of a monkey. You really only see it sometimes on Garden. I don't think it's okay though. It's better. It's gonna be better than the F tier towers I'm gonna put later. You really only see it in Garden sometimes, but even then, you use a Boomerang instead. Or not the Boomerang, the Druid. What am I talking about today? Alright, Boomerang is B tier. Yeah. So Dart just fallen off ever since Sentai Churchill gotten the nerfs. Anyway, Boomerang's B tier, I think. I think Boomerang works on a lot of maps, but on a lot of maps, Boomerang has to play aggressive. Boomerang players have to play aggressive because their DDT defense is really bad. So they play aggressive, and then they can't really pop bads. So it's really good early game, I guess. It's really good early game, really good in some maps, but overall, when they're attack maps, the attack's just better. Don't think the Boomerang's that good. I use it or I never use it, but I see it on a lot of maps, like pretty much every single time I play those maps. So kind of like off-tide in those maps like that. Alright, Bomb Tower, I'm gonna put in A tier. Bomb Tower is just really solid. It can pop Regal Rainbows. It's just really good mid-game. Can pop Regal Rainbows, can pop DDTs. It just defends mid-game rushes really well. And it can pop lots of DDTs and all that stuff. DDTs, the Bloon Crush, and then if they just send a couple, you can mob assassin them. I think it's a really solid tower. Tack Shooter. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think it's just a little bit worse than the Boomerang, so I gotta put it here. There we go. That's how you move it. Alright. I think the Tack Shooter is a bit worse than the Boomerang right now. I don't know. Ever since they nerfed the Wizard, I think the Wizard nerf was really unnecessary. They nerfed the Wizard, and then the Tack Shooter, they also nerfed that too. It's really only really good on Koru and Pirate Cove. But yeah, so the Tack Shooter isn't really that good now. It's really fallen off. By fallen off, I meant it fell from A tier to B tier. So because you still have to use it pretty much every time on Koru and on Pirate Cove. It's still gonna be B tier, and it's still viable. It's just gotten a hit with those nerfs. Ice Tower, I think Ice Tower is also gonna go in D tier, to be honest. Dartling Ice is really fell. So I would have put in F tier if Boat Ice Farm doesn't exist. You do see Boat Ice Farm quite a bit on Star, but other than that, it's better than the Dart Monkey. But other than that, it's not very good. The Ice Monkey. I don't think Ice Monkey needs a buff. I think Snowpat needs a buff. If they buff Snowpat, Ice is definitely gonna come back. But we'll get into the heroes later. Glue. Okay, we got our first F tier tower, guys. Glue. When do you see the Glue, guys? By the way, I'm gonna be ranking stuff based on Hall of Masters, right? Based on what I've seen in Hall of Masters. So, like, if you're not in Hall of Masters yet, and you see a specific tower a lot. So, for example, the Wizard, I'm probably gonna rank her very low. But if you're not in Hall of Masters yet, you might see her a lot. Anyway, so the Glue is just really bad. Like, it doesn't synergize well with the banana farm, and it's just pretty bad. All right, it's just really bad. When do you use it? Maybe the only map that I see sometimes on is Bot Factory, but that's because the third tower slot, he just fills up the third tower slot. There's not really much he does. All right, the Sniper Monkey. I think the Sniper Monkey needs a buff. I haven't really thought of where I'm gonna put the Sniper Monkey. F tier seems kinda harsh. I think it's a lot better than the Glue, but because I never see it, I never ever see the Sniper Monkey like this season. Sometimes because Dart Monkey also fell off the meta kind of, so Dart Farm Sniper has just really taken a hit after Sentai Churchill's nerfs. So I don't use it anymore on Glade. And don't really see it that much on Garden either. I just mainly see the Druid. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that in F tier. Sub. I think we're gonna get our first S tier tower, guys. Or, nah, we'll put in A tier. We're gonna save the S tier for the best of the best. Because now that I think about it, I'm gonna put the farm in S tier definitely. And the farm is a lot better than the sub. So the sub is better than the bomb, I think. The sub's just really good. You use it with the bomb, so they're not competitors. You use it with the bomb. The sub just removes camo. If you have it, you don't have to deal with ZOMGs anymore. And then against DDTs, it's pretty solid. And then it can also shred. Whoops, sorry about that. It can also shred bads quite a bit. So it can shred bads if you have something to pair it up, like a Bloon Crush to pair it up with, or like a Superstorm to handle the insides. So if you can take care of the insides, pops a bad layer really well. Boat. I don't know. I think boat's really taking a hit. It would have been A tier. Is it still A tier though, guys? Is it still A tier or is it B tier? So you can use Merchantman farm a lot. I'm gonna put in high bait B tier. I see Merchantman farm, but boat ice farm is really good. But then on top of that, you do use it on construction zone. But other than that, I think that's it. Now that I think about it, I don't usage-wise, I would put it here. Or usage-wise, I'll put it here, I guess. But I don't really think it's good. I think it's better than the boomerang and the attack shooter. All right. You can use it for Merchantman farm on short maps. A lot of people like to do that. And then you can favorite trades with the Monkeynomics. That boat ice farm players do that a lot. All right, Ace. Where'd the Ace go, man? Ace needs a buff. I think Ace needs a buff. It's only viable if you're really, really good at it. Putting in F tier isn't really fair though. It's still a good tower. If you know what you're doing with it, it's really good. If you know what you're doing with it, it can work out really well for you. But other than that, it's just not that great. I don't see it any maps. I see it sometimes on ports, and then you see it occasionally on Dino Graveyard. I'm gonna put it in high D, or I think the Ace needs a little bit of a buff early game kind of. It's just not really reliable, I guess, as a tower, and it's really map specific. But it is pretty good if you know how to use it. The helicopter, the monkey pilot. I think I'm gonna have to put the monkey pilot here. I don't know where it went. I think it's gonna go next to the Ace. I don't really know where it went. It's definitely worse than the Ace, but I think it's better than the Ice. Because the Ice you don't have to use it in any map. The heli you do kind of have to use it in Bot Factory. So you have to use it in Bot Factory, but other than Bot Factory, it's just not very good. It's pretty expensive early game, and you have to use it with like a support tower in order for it to be good. I think heli doesn't need a buff. Instead, they should buff Pat Fusty. If they buff Pat Fusty, Ace would be buff. And if they buff Snowpat, then Ice Monkey would be buff. So I think Pat Fusty needs a bit of a buff in order for Ace to come back. Mortar. Alright, Mortar's A tier. I think Mortar's worse than the sub and the bomb. So Mortar removes camo, obviously, but the reason I think it's worse than the sub is because Striker Jones is really bad. I think Striker Jones needs a bit of a buff. And without the Striker Jones, there isn't really a reason not to use the Mortar instead of the sub. So sometimes you do see it with Boomerang, and sometimes you do see it with Bomb. But with Bomb now, players now use it with a sub. Because if you have the sub, you don't have to worry about ZOMGs. And the Mortar doesn't have a one-shot ZOMG ability like that. But it's still really reliable. The artillery battery is still really good. And you do have to use it on Pirate Cove. So Dartling Gunner. I think we're gonna have another A tier tower, guys. So Dartling Gunner is just really good. It's just really solid. You see it a lot. You see it a lot on short maps. Definitely better than the sub. They did nerf it though. I think Dartling Gunner got like a good 10 nerfs. It's good ever since the beginning of the game. It's just really good since the beginning of the game. It's just such a good tower early game, but it is kind of hard to farm with it now you do need some specific synergies with it in order for you to get good farms. That being said, it's a lot better than the sub. It's a lot better than the sub, I think. Do we put in S tier or an A tier? I think we'll put in A tier. We'll put in A tier. We gotta save the S tier for something else. Wizard. Alright, the wizard, I think I'm gonna put in C tier. It's better than everything in D tier, but it's worse than everything in B tier. I don't know where the wizard went. The wizard's just really been replaced with a mortar, to be honest. No one really goes tack farm wizard anymore. It kind of has a position of like the heli. It's only viable on Koru, and on other maps, wizard, the only viable wizard loadout tack farm wizard, and the only good viable loadout is tack farm wizard. There are definitely more loadouts, and then in tack farm wizard, you have to play really aggressively because you can't pop DDTs or bads, or then ZMG's defense are really expensive, so you have to play really aggressively. But most farm players, most people know what they're doing. They're going to be able to defend your rushes, and then you'll be screwed if you can't kill your opponent before round 22. So I'm gonna put the wizard in C. Super monkey. Okay, this is hard. Where do I put the super monkey, guys? It's really only used in Dino Graveyard, right? After all those buffs, I think the super monkey is really annoying. It's really annoying, and it just serves as the MVP of your loadout in Dino Graveyard or in any super monkey loadouts. It just puts in there. It has a lot of ego. You put it in there, and then it just shapes your loadout a ton. It's the opposite of it's the complete opposite of a support monkey. But that being said, though, I think I'm gonna put it in C. Usage wise, it's not very good. You can only use it in a couple long maps. And okay, if they add Thin Ice back to Hall of Masters, please don't do that. But if they do, then Super Monkey would be in a higher tier. But unfortunately, the maps aren't very long, and the only good maps are really for the Super Monkey are Dino Graveyard and Oasis, kind of. And then, I mean, Adora. I mean, there is Adora's Temple. So I'm going to put in high C tier in front of the Wizard. It's definitely worse than the B tier towers. It's just too expensive to be run good. And it's bad defense is not. And it's really expensive to pop a bad with it too. Anyway, Ninja. Where did the Ninja Monkey go? I feel like the Ninja Monkey just went nowhere. I feel like the Ninja Monkey just gone away. It just gone to train or something. I don't know why Ninja Kiwi nerfed the Sticky Bomb upgrade. The Sticky Bomb upgrade definitely needs a buff. I don't know why they nerfed the Sticky Bomb upgrade. Ever since that, you don't really see the Ninja anymore. Like, Dartling Farm Ninja is a dead loadout. I really wish they would revive it. And to revive it, they would need to buff the Sticky Bomb, obviously. No, everyone just goes Dartling Farm Alchemist, and even Ninja Farm Alch is also dead. Ninja Alch Heli, well, the Heli is sitting there in D tier, so I'm gonna have to put the Ninja Monkey in F tier. I have not seen a single player use Ninja Monkey. I have not seen a single player use Ninja Monkey in Hall of Masters. That being said, though, it's better than the Sniper and the Glue. It's a pretty good tower. It's late game if you can use it right. I think the Sticky Bomb just needs a buff. All right, that's all. Enough said with the Ninja Monkey. Ninja definitely needs a buff. But it's a fun tower to play. It's a pretty fun tower to play. It takes skill to play well. So I think a Ninja needs a buff. Alchemist. All right. Alchemist, if you think about it, you really only see it with the Dart Monkey, or not the Dart Monkey, the Dartling Gunner. Like, other than the Dartling Gunner, you just don't really see it. You only see Dartling Farm Alch on these short maps. Or I mean Bolt Alch too, but that's also on the same maps on like Glade or stuff like that. So Bolt Alch Spike Factory, I guess, sometimes. It's kind of on the category where it's only used in a specific type of maps. I think I'm gonna put in high C tier. It's better than the Super Monkey and the Wizard. That's for sure, but I don't know if it's as good as the B tier towers. I think it's gotta go in high C. I don't think Alch needs a buff. I think it's pretty average, but I think I think if Ninja Monkey gets a buff, Alchemist would definitely rise higher. Anyway, Druid. Druid's really good. I would put it in S tier if I were the only player in the game, if everyone plays like me. Because I use a Druid on pretty much every map. It's like it's really worth your time trying to get good at playing the Druid Monkey. It's really good investment of your time. It helps you on so many maps. It's viable on so many maps, and then it's just a solid tower. But that being said, it is, because it can be used on those maps, doesn't mean it is the best tower in those maps, like Sands of Time and Dino Graveyard. Enough being said though, I think I'm gonna have to put it right below the sub. Yeah, I have to put it right below the sub. I can use it on more maps than I can with a bomb, but I think overall the bomb's more reliable. But the bomb's more reliable on these maps. But the Druid, you do have the Super Storm to help you late game. I think this is a good spot for it. So it's worse than the sub and better than the bomb. Banana Farm, F tier, man. It can't even pop any balloons. Like, the Banana Farm can't even pop any balloons. Like, are you kidding me, man? You plop it down, what does it even do? When was the last time you seen someone use a Banana Farm? F tier. Anyway, Spike Factory. Spike Factory. Where do I put the Spike Factory, man? Bow, Alch, Spacked, and then you sometimes see Engineer with a Spike Factory, but it's a very niche tower. I would say it belongs in the D tier. D tier's towers are like kind of niche, so like if you get good at them, it can give you a lot of value, but they aren't very popular and they aren't very versatile. That being said though, I think it's better than the Ace. I think it's the best in the D tier tower, so it's better than the Ace, Heli, Ice, and the Dart, but it's worse, definitely a lot worse than the C tier towers, in my opinion. Village is also the same, man. Village is also kind of the same. It's a support tower. It's a classic support tower. Typically, support towers are going to be ranked a bit lower, I guess, because they aren't as much versatile and they're kind of dependent on the other towers. So I'm going to put the Village. Where do I want to put the Village? I don't know. We really only see Dartling Village Super Monkey or Dartling Village Druid sometimes. But other than that, to be honest, you don't really see the Druid. Like the Druid, or not the Druid, whatchamacallit, the Village. The Village typically used with eco loadouts, and the eco loadouts they get dominated by the farm, because if you have banana farms, you can rush an eco loadout and the eco person usually can't defend. I'm gonna put it here. I think it's worse than the Heli, but better than the Ice and the Dart. Engineer. Where do I want to put the engineer? Whoops. Sorry. Where do I want to put the engineer? I'm gonna put the engineer. It's really only used in a couple maps. I mean, it's kind of niche tower. I guess it could go in D, but I really think it's better than all the D tier towers. The Bloon Trap goes crazy. The Bloon Trap needs a rework or a nerf. I think the Bloon Trap needs a nerf, definitely. Even though it's not that good of a tower. The Bloon Trap definitely needs a nerf like that. It makes so much money and it's so map dependent. On maps like on some maps, if your opponent isn't ecoing, it's so annoying. It gives so much money, a ridiculous amount of money. And the overclock, it buffs the banana farm that gives so much money. I think it's better than all the C tier towers. It just gives so much money, it's so annoying to play against. I think it needs a nerf. I don't know where to put it. Either high C or low B. But doesn't really feel right to put in B tier because like you don't have to use it in any map. Like as for these three towers, you do have to use it in some maps. So yeah, I'm gonna put in high C. You don't really have to use it in any map. Like other towers can always replace it. Alright, so that's all the tower. Alright, I forgot to put the banana farm in S tier. Like the banana farm just belongs in S tier. It's the best tower in the game. It does not need any nerfs. It doesn't need any big nerfs. It should always remain viable. The game's only fun when the banana farm's good. And yeah, alright, on to the heroes. So Quincy. Alright, Quincy's pretty. By the way, I'm gonna put all the heroes like right after the towers, so I'm not gonna put them before the towers. I'm not gonna do like this. I'm not gonna compare them to the towers because you can't really compare the heroes to the towers. So Oben, it's always used with the druid. It's always used with the druid. Okay, and it's worse than Gwen, I think, in my opinion. I use it a lot more than Gwen. Is it worse than Gwen? No clue. I don't know. It depends where you would put it. I might think it's better than Gwen, but some people might not agree. It's always used with the druid. The druid's just so good. But other than the druid, if you don't use the druid, you don't. It's just linked with the druid, alright? It's tied with the druid. If you use the druid, you use Oben. If you use Oben, you use druid. Anyway, that being said, Ocean Oben. Ocean Oben sucks. I think if they buff Ninja Monkey a little bit, Ocean Oben could come back. Ocean Oben's really well. It works really good with the Ninja Monkey. But like that's all. That's really all. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in C tier. Nah, I'll put in D. Yeah, it's worse, a lot worse than Cyber Quincy, in my opinion. I think the hero needs a little bit of a buff. Ninja in the. Yeah. I think it's not right to put in F tier. I'm considering between F tier and D tier. I think I'll put in D. Just because, yeah, it's a lot worse than regular Oben. If they buff Ninja Monkey, then it could come back. I don't feel like it needs any changes. I feel like Ninja Monkey needs a buff. Like I think Ninja Monkey needs a buff so that Ninja farm loadouts become viable, not the Ninja eco loadouts. And Ninja eco loadouts are sometimes really annoying to play against. So buffing the sticky bomb will do the job. I've already said that a couple times. So Striker Jones, it's really only used with a mortar, but mortar players actually go Jericho or Quincy with it now, just because how Striker Jones is bad. Striker Jones needs a buff, alright? I'm gonna put it in the same tier as Oben. I think it's a bit better than Ocean Oben, but Striker Jones needs a buff. Mortar does not need a buff. Striker Jones needs a buff, alright? Needs just a small buff to compete with Quincy and Jericho in mortar loadouts, because Oben's always used with druid, but bomb and mortar players are kind of ditching the hero now. Same as Striker Jones. I think Striker Jones is better than regular Jones, but it's better than regular Jones, but it's still horrible. It's still horrible because no one uses it. Churchill. This is interesting, man. This is really interesting. Churchill you sometimes see in Oasis and on Adora. So it's on a couple maps where you just must use. But other than those maps, it's really map dependent. So you don't see them at all anymore. I think Churchill's pretty good. It's a pretty good one. It's better than Cyber Quincy. Worse than Quincy though. It doesn't need a buff. I think I'll put it here. I'll put in B tier. But because of its map dependency, I can't put in A tier. So it's like not viable on maps that it doesn't work in. Whereas Quincy, heroes like Quincy, they're significantly weaker, but it works out on every map. Like you can use Quincy on every map. All right, Sentai Churchill is kind of like Cyber Quincy and Quincy. It's kind of like the relationship between Churchill and Sentai Churchill is kind of like Quincy and Cyber. Sentai Churchill's just kind of fallen off. It was the head. They're always competing against each other. It was better than regular Churchill for a long time, but then now they kind of nerfed it pretty hard. I think Sentai Churchill needs a small buff, a small buff, just enough to make it good with the dart, because the dart and the Churchill and Sentai Churchill's just linked so closely together. That a dart buff could work. Or maybe not. I guess it's balanced. It's a pretty balanced hero, I guess. Benjamin. To be honest, no one uses it. I have not seen a single person use regular Benjamin. I've not seen a single person run regular Benjamin except myself. And I run it sometimes on Bloon Factory just for the funsies. But that's all. So it's on F tier. It needs a buff. It needs or either a buff or a meta shift. Right, in the current meta is just really bad. It's worse than all the D tier heroes. Well, as this guy here, DJ Ben, you occasionally do see it with Dartling. So Dartling Super Village, or yeah, Dartling Super Village. But other than that, you don't see it at all. You don't see it at all. I feel like even Dartling Super Village is super rare. I just don't see it. I don't know whether to put in D or F. I think I'll leave in F. I don't know though. I think it needs a meta shift. It's really, this hero's really linked. It's closely linked to the Dartling. And the Dartling's doing great, but the Dartling users are ditching him. Azeli also F tier. I have not seen it once this season, so I can't even tell you guys how good Azeli is. I can't tell you. Well, maybe I guess I've seen it a couple times, but against people who don't know how to send balloons at me, don't know how to, or let me get up 3 plantations by round 14. Same as Smudge Cat. I think Smudge Cat's worse than the regular. I can't compare because I have not seen a single person use it, or I've not seen a single person uses it who's decent. And alright, Pat, I think Pat needs a buff. Pat needs a bit of a buff. I think the Benjamins and the Azelis just need a meta shift, to be honest. Azeli is really closely linked to the Wizard. If the Wizard gets a small buff, Azeli might come back. But Pat needs a buff. Pat needs a buff because a Pat buff would help heli too. Would help heli quite a bit. F tier though, I don't think it. I think it's better than these F tier heroes, but I do think it's worse than these D tier heroes. Or is it? I'm gonna put it here. It's worse than Jones. I'm gonna decide that's worse than Jones, but better than. It's worse than Jones, but better than Ocean Open. Alright. I gotta rank Snowpat first. Snowpat. Where do we want to put Snowpat? So it's really only used with Dartling Ice Farm. And I haven't seen that many people use that this season here. I think Snowpat needs a buff, kind of like Pat Fusty needs a buff to help it out. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna put him here. I think it's better than Pat, but just still pretty bad. I think these two, Pat needs a buff, Snowpat needs a buff, and yeah, the other as for the other heroes, I don't know. I think Gwendolyn needs a nerf. Gwendolyn's need a slight nerf, and then Pat's need a buff. Alright, I added Adora to the list. Just realized she wasn't here. Anyway, the Jerichos. So they're all in S tier, I think. I think Star Captain's the best. It's guaranteed money, kind of like Highwayman, but its ability cooldown is a lot faster, so I think it generates a bit more money. But then Highwayman, you do get to sell stuff, and you do get to send BFBs. I don't know, I think Highwayman and Star are pretty close, but I'm gonna put Star above Highwayman because of its higher attack speed. And regular Jericho, actually I'm gonna just move him in A. The only map I use it on is Ball Factory now, because on any other map you can avoid the steals really easily, at least if you're in Hall of Masters. If you're not, then that's a different story, but most people will be able to avoid the steal and you won't get much value out of it. Also, what's Engineer doing here? Engineer should be B. I just realized that because I put him in C thinking or forgetting that Sun Palace ever existed. And now that I realize that Sun Palace, the new map that existed, I just got reminded of that with Adora. Everyone actually used Engineer on this map, so on the new map Sun Palace. So if you don't have the Engineer, you do have a kind of disadvantage. Most Engineer players would win against a non-Engineer player. The skill is the same. So yeah. Looks like there is a guaranteed map for the Engineer, a map where everyone pretty much has to use him, where he's meta on. Alright, lastly, Adora. It's kind of sad. Like, they typically release heroes a bit more OP, but I'm gonna put in F tier. It would be like the druid. It would be like the Oben Greenfoot, if the druid ditches him. If even the druid ditches him. So this is kind of designed like the Oben to buff the super monkey. Just like Oben, how Oben buffs the druid. Okay, most druid users use Oben, but unfortunately, no super monkeys use Adora. And if that's the only use of Adora, to be paired up with a super monkey, and the super monkey isn't even, it's just the Chizzer isn't even in the group, then looks like Adora standing alone and no one uses her. She levels up so slow. She's just a worse Oben, worse Quincy. It's just $900 piece of gold, piece of useless gold, piece of fake gold. That doesn't really do much. Usually, even if you use Super Monkey, run Gwendolyn with him to get the early game money. I think Adora needs a bit of a buff. It she just levels up too slowly. Anyway, yeah, I think this is gonna be my tier list here. Let me know your thoughts respectfully in the comment section below. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got for you guys today. So yeah, see y'all.